We're going to continue this story about visionary leadership and the future and the next generation and the opportunity before all of us. I'm very pleased to help bring this event home. Please join me in welcoming the co-founders of The Honest Company, Christopher Gavigan and Jessica Alba. Come on up. Welcome, Jessica, Christopher.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hello.
Hey, you're there.
Yep. So let's.
Is it morning or afternoon for y'all?
Who knows?
Still morning for me.
It's just warm. That's all they care about.
I think it's
I
morning
got to
here.
sleep in. My kids aren't here, so I got to sleep in, which is nice.
I think it's still morning for all of us. We're all just
Little-
about reached our
little
target heart
tired.
rates here, but we're going for it. So let's get the sort of the basic and maybe boring question out of the way first. Talk about how The Honest Company got started. Jessica, will you start the story?
I mean, I hope it's not boring.
I don't mean boring. I just sort of the basic.
I hope it's exciting
It is
and
exciting.
inspiring.
I'm sorry, that was a bad setup.
I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but I'm not a business person. I didn't go to business school.
Come on.
I didn't. Hate to break it to you. I'm a mom. I actually started out as an actress. I started acting when I was 12. So I'm a dreamer. I play, pretend, and dress up for a living. Anything is possible in my universe. And so when I was a mom and I actually had an allergic reaction to the #1 laundry detergent for babies when I was pregnant. And it was one that my mother recommended to me because she said, you have to have the best and you have to have this one and it makes the clothes really soft. And that was the standard. You needed your baby's clothes to be really, really soft. And I was like, okay, cool. So I had an allergic reaction. I called my mom and I was like, Mom, you're crazy. There's no way this is safe for a baby. I'm having an allergic reaction and I have a strong immune system compared to a newborn baby. Can you imagine what this can do to my newborn baby? And my mom was like, I'm just trying to help you out. If you don't want my advice, don't call me. And I was like, sorry, Mom, I'm hormonal. I had this allergic reaction and I can't even take Benadryl right now because I'm pregnant. So I Googled it. I had to figure out what was it that I was having an allergic reaction to? Why was I having an allergic reaction? And as I did research, I found out that there are lots of toxic chemicals, not only in this laundry detergent, in other baby products, in house cleaning products, in personal care products, in beauty products. And I was horrified. I found out that there's flame retardants all over my house, in the carpeting, in the curtains. There's off-gassing inside a home, and inside your home is more toxic than outside. And I live in California where I grew up with pollution. I was like, how is this possible? And so I then, weirdly enough, I went to the launch of Christopher Gavigan's book, Healthy Child, Healthy World. And in that book, he made the correlation between these childhood chronic illnesses to these toxic chemicals that are in everything from pesticides to tearless baby shampoo. And so I said, Christopher, what do I do? What do I buy? And he was like, well, that's complicated. This company does this okay. That company does that okay. This one does this all right. I mean, there's no perfect universe, no perfect world. And I was like, I don't have time to shop like all over. I was buying stuff from Australia, I was buying stuff from Europe. I eventually just started making stuff out of vinegar and baking soda at home and putting essential oil so it didn't smell so funky. And my husband was like really irritated with me. And I was like, this is too hard. And every diaper that I used either gave my kid diaper rash or it would explode. And I was like, this is...
It would explode?
It would explode because it wouldn't hold my baby's business.
Ah, okay, all right.
Yeah, I mean,
That kind of explode,
she
I get it.
slept.
Never a good
She slept
explosion.
for 12 hours, and I shouldn't feel, scared about my kid sleeping for 12 hours because her diaper's gonna explode, and she's gonna. I woke up. This happened. I woke up because she was screaming. And I came into her room, and she was covered in these beads, and some of them were in her mouth, and she was like 6 months old, and I called the pediatrician, I called 911, I called my mom, and I was like, what's in this diaper? And basically the diaper company said, you have to have your doctor write us and tell us what your baby's allergic to, and we'll let you know if that ingredient is in the diaper. I'm not gonna test to see if my baby is allergic to half the stuff out there that is toxic. I'm like, who does that? So I knew there had to be a better way. There had to be one brand that families can go to that did all the hard work. And why did anything that had pictures of nature or was brown or beige cost so much money? I was really irritated about that too. I was like, you're ugly and you don't work and you're expensive. This is rude.
Yeah,
this is just rude.
This is right. So
I went to Christopher and I recruited him. It took me about a year to convince him to come and consult with me for 8 months, because he was like, oh, it'll be a consultation kind of thing, and maybe we can figure out something. And then finally, he came on over to the dark side from nonprofit work to for-profit business. And I was like, no, you could actually change the world if you take enough of the marketplace, if you actually put your feet in the ground. Big business will actually care more about what they're putting in products, care about the environment, if you take enough of their marketplace and if you change consumer behavior. And so that's what we sought out to do with The Honest Company. That's how it happened. That's the boring story.
No, that was not boring. I was just playing off some backstage talk we had. We'll get to your part of the story in a second, but it strikes me that journey you went on, what do I do, what do I buy, it's where do I find it, it's expensive, maybe I should try making my own, it's hard. Why is the stuff that's out there so inappropriate for any number of reasons, too expensive, doesn't work right, just ugly. And then, you came, it's a journey that so many, not just new moms, but so many consumers have been on, and I think it's one of the big challenges in this whole space of why this whole consumer market has taken so long to take off. But so Christopher, pick up the story from your part. You were an NGO guy who written a book, and you have what's your background?
Environmental science and health. And so my reality was, here's this great mom who is an example and just like every other mom. She's struggling, she's going online, she's using online as her database, as this, I'm raising my family, my little unit by this global village. And there's doom and gloom, and there's alarmist realities in the world, and she was getting a ton of information that either wasn't correct or was completely scary. And what I loved about Jessica was the passion of, why wasn't there one place, one source, one group, one trust mark? And it was like boiling the ocean. Like, I want to do it all. I want to create personal care and cleaning and diapering and feeding. I want to do it all. And that, for me, was crazy but incredibly interesting. And what I loved about the opportunity it wasn't like, hey, let's disrupt the world. It was, let's educate the world. Let's comfort the world. Let's become their ally. Let's become their friend. Let's really show them an authentic reality of a business, and business being incredibly transparent. And that was exciting to me. That was truly unique. And it was really, how do we wrap our hands around, because I had crazy, unapologetic high standards. So who can I find that's going to build to my specs? I've been working with the top health professionals, environmental science, and researchers. I've been peeking behind the doors of traditional CPG and quote-unquote green CPG and saying, well, you guys are the same people, unfortunately. And how do they build to something that we find spectacular and amazing and totally non-toxic?
And go beyond, one thing that I found that was frustrating as a consumer and as a mom is I would buy that product that was brown or beige and had pictures of nature on it, thinking that it was the better product, when I found out the solution inside was just as toxic as any other, but the packaging was more expensive, more biodegradable, and that's what made it a green or eco product. I wanted everything. I wanted the packaging to be good, but I really wanted the solution to be good too.
So even the things you found that were green only had a couple of attributes and it didn't go the whole way.
Yeah, and you look at European standards, as Jessica had referenced, and they are light years ahead of what we have here in the United States. And someone needed to be the watchdog for mom, and why couldn't it be a business? And saying, hey,
How many?
I mean, the reality of even in the personal care space, the United States or the regulatory environment on TSCA has just only limited 8 to 9 specific chemicals in personal care, whereas in Europe and given to REACH, it's over 1,200. And so that was incredibly dissatisfying for me as a father of 3. And in a world where labeling and transparency and toxicity, those never collided in a way that was easy to understand.
So one of the themes that we've been talking about the last 3 days is transparency and storytelling.
Yeah.
And you seem to have integrated that in a really nice way. What's the story you're trying to tell?
Well, one funny thing with transparency that I think is really funny, because I am the only girl. We have 4 founders. We have an operations guy, we have a CEO who sort of built the business model, Christopher, who's product, and me. And when we were about to launch, they all decided, without telling me, that it just looked better and cleaner if we all had white bottles. And I was like, no, it needs to be transparent, because our company's transparent, and moms and people want to see the solution inside. You want to see when you're going to run out too. And they were like, but everything might be a little bit off, different colors. And I was like,
yeah,
no, as a mom, you have to know that this matters so much.
As the products guy, where we're using no natural or synthetic fragrance, because fragrance, as you may or may not know, you could put anything in fragrance and call it a day. You don't have to tell the consumer. So if you're using only pure essential oils, you're going to have color drift, you're going to have stability issues, and so you really have to crack the code and really be at the bench for a long time in order to get a product that's stable and beautiful looking in clear packaging.
Yeah.
But there are certain things along your stage of your brand and building a brand, and this is what we benefited from, because we were incubating this idea for over 2.5 years, was let's set the stage early and really be the brand that we want to profess to be. So we know our personality, we know our standards, we know we're going out of the gate. We have to shift later. And so if you build from a foundation of goodness and trying to be the ally of your consumer,
And not perfect.
they sense that. They
Yeah.
sense that. Yeah, we're not the perfect company. We're the honest company, and there's a lot of fallibility, and there's a lot of, sometimes we're too honest.
And we try to do the best we can, but there's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
And so I think that's important. That's part of our narrative, and that's part of the transparency in our company. We put every ingredient on our packaging. Good luck finding another company that does that.
It's like parenting, right? As a parent, you're constantly shifting and learning more, and that's what we wanted people to feel like. Hey, we're here with you, and we're gonna go along that life cycle.
What does it mean to be too honest?
For me, sometimes when you're talking specific, we have our audience is incredibly educated, and we have our customer service team in our headquarters in Santa Monica, so they're rolling calls every day. And sometimes their moms are calling in and saying, hey, where are you sourcing your shea butter? And we'll drive down to the village, or we'll like really have these conversations deep into the ingredients 101. And they really love to know all the particulars and why not. And you have to preserve product. It can't be shelf stable unless you use preservatives. And in the industry, preservatives are one of the biggest challenges on getting products to be shelf stable. And we're using, I would say, 1/10 of what the average CPG is using from a preservative perspective. And moms are still questioning, why are you using that preservative? I know it's rose and plant derived, but why can't you not use it? Well, bacterial contamination happens, and you don't want bacterial contamination happening. So it's really, again, we use it as a platform of education, and that's exciting. They really want to know more, and we have our blog series, which we do
we're really active on
every
social
day,
media.
and that's a place where you have a narrative and have a conversation, and the same with our social platforms.
So new moms are this really, well, far better than I do, in terms of this very special moment in terms of fear and hope and excitement and new products that never bought before from new brands, used in new ways. That's, I think, just in general, a really interesting place to be. The question is, how big is that market for the new moms who really want to know the preservative level? Is that...
Well, for the first time in your life, you're all of a sudden responsible for a little person. It's the first time you have a consciousness about what am I doing to keep this person alive and thrive. And from what you put on your skin to what you eat to what you drink, all of that affects the health and well-being of this little person growing inside of you.
Right.
And I think that's why moms control 70% of the household income. And they care about what they're purchasing because they care about what their family is being exposed to. And so it's just a great moment. It was the moment, whoa, sorry about that. It was a moment when I changed my behaviors, when I started to care about what I cleaned my house with. It's when I started to care about what I put on my skin. I never really cared prior to that.
I understand that, but I'm wondering how, there's this, I think a lot of companies, a lot of CPGs in the audience here and watching this on live stream who have been down some road about thinking about green conscious consumers, or however they're labeled, the LOHAS, and a number of different labels, and it never scales. So it's a tiny market. It's maybe less than 10% or right around there, and so they sort of give up. So that's just not big enough for us. And I'm wondering, as you have this conversation with new moms and more than just new moms, do you think that it's a much bigger audience that you're able to tap that for some reason the CPGs can't?
We don't talk about the green consumer. We talk about
effectiveness.
The average mom, what her needs are, looking at where she's shopping. How do we talk to her? Where do you infuse moments of surprise and delight as well as education to really give her a sense, oh, I am responsible for this new being, and that placental blood barrier, I'm actually passing downstream toxins to my baby. Oh my goodness, what does that mean? What I'm putting on my body is affecting the health of my newborn or pre.
I mean, the doctor tells you that.
So you give her moments of education whilst not trying to scare her, but we don't talk about the green consumer.
No,
that is not our audience.
What do you think would happen if you did?
We go after effectiveness. That's a huge one for us. Safe. We want it to be safe and non-toxic, obviously. I feel like the millennial mom and the millennial generation just expects that. We expect there to be also a social aspect to a business, so we give back. It's embedded in our business model for every purchase. It's not something that we necessarily advertise. It's just part of who we are. And then beautifully design. This is in and around your home. It's part of your identity, what you buy. And it is on your kitchen countertop. It is in your shower. And why can't it be beautiful? So all of these things are really what we're most concerned about. It being more sustainable, non-plant-based ingredients, all of that. That to us is just a given. It's not like we're out there trying to be this green company. It's just part of who we are. It's just part of our consciousness.
So you are talking around it, but you're not hitting the green message over the head. It sounds like are you talking about it at all? Does that?
Yeah.
There is a planetary part of this.
For sure. And the more you focus on that mom's need to hear those messages, I think the more you don't satisfy her. I think she likes to find out, oh, they're not hitting me over the head with it. That's who they are. That's their personality. That's the fabric of their being. And that is surprising to her when she could turn the label around and say, wow, I know exactly what's inside, and I could read all these things, and I know what they're doing and why they're there or not there, and what they're actually choosing to honestly free take out. We have an honestly free section that you can see exactly what we're deciding to leave out of this that you might find somewhere else along your store shelf.
So you stand on the shoulders of others who have been down this road, seventh generation, going back to the 80s, method. Obviously, we've had Adam and Eric on this stage of the Green Biz Forum, and a lot of that what I hear you saying is similar to their philosophy of it's got to be beautiful, it's got to work, it's got to look nice sitting there on the counter and not under the counter. What did you learn by looking at them that led you to find your own path?
Well, I think, we grew up with that being a reality. It wasn't a new thought or idea. It was just an expectation. And so we created the company with just those high standards and expectations.
Yeah, and they're our friends. I know them all, both of those guys, very well, and have worked with them directly. And what we decided to do was to go broad against this all-inclusive, clean lifestyle play, as opposed to narrow the focus and go deep. So we're broad, and then soon you will see the brand go deeper and deeper in those categories. But that's what Mom is needing. I want to outsource my trust to one brand. I want to arrive and not worry about it.
And it's also a lifestyle. We're not just selling product. We do have a lifestyle that is supported by our philosophy and what we stand for. I wrote a book as well. I basically used Christopher's book as inspiration, and I was like, how do we make it pretty? Because his book
mine's really pretty too.
It's a lot of words, and I was like, we got to break up this information and put in a lot more pictures. And Dr. Phil Landrigan, he proofread it, and so all the science is there. But you have to kind of make it more digestible. Who wants to read a book about toxicity or living an untoxic life or more green or whatever? My generation, it's not that, like, people want to be like cool and hip and sexy, and that stuff is not that cool or hip or sexy.
So
like, how do you almost like trick them? Not trick them, but make something for them,
Yeah.
So that's sort of what we did.
I hate to break it, but there's some folks in the room here for whom non-toxic is sexy.
I mean,
It's super sexy.
we love you, chemists.
We got a geeky crowd here. But you said you're selling a lifestyle. Is that how do you articulate that lifestyle? Is it the sexy and cool? Is that what it is? Or?
It's how do you make an awesome 20-minute meal for your family that tastes delicious and you use local and seasonal produce? It's how do you put together a 10-minute, makeup face for a new mom who still wants to look good and feel confident, but she only got 10 minutes to do it, and what's a lipstick that doesn't have lead in it? Just things like that, things that are accessible and things that are relevant to people's everyday life. How do you put a diaper on your baby and not have to run out at 2 in the morning and put a diaper on your kid that actually holds their business, but is cute? We have seasonal designs on our diapers, and they're not, there are no pictures of nature unless we choose to do that design, and it's not beige to hit the green message. It's made out of the best quality, and you could still be cute, and so you don't have to compromise.
So as Jessica's saying, it's wrapping the brand in much more than what we profess to sell, but we never intend, if you read our mission statement, and this is much to honor Yvon Chouinard, and his approach to business was there to serve a mission and to serve a purpose. We don't talk about selling product or goods. We talk about affecting future generations and inspiring them and empowering them to make change. So that's what we're here to do. And if we happen to sell product right now, awesome. If we decide to do something different, all the better.
So how is it going? Like, you've bbeen in the market for a year?
2 years.
2 years. How is the company going? Can you give us some metrics?
It's healthy. We're excited about what we're doing. We're excited about the communities we're impacting from a social giving perspective. We're shipping packages we have this direct-to-consumer component to the business, which is continuity fulfillment, month-over-month shipments, as well as now we're expanding into some traditional offline retail outlets. That's just giving mom more access to our product and adding some credibility and validation there, which is nice, but really choosing partnerships that are very strategic and that can talk to our story in this outsourcing your trust to one brand or that trusted mark.
What's interesting about having a direct relationship with your customer is they get to tell you what they want you to make, what they want you to do. So they really wanted us to make a great toothpaste. So we have a great toothpaste and mouthwash. We just launched our mouthwash. They want us to do a deodorant. That's coming up next. So we get to iterate on our product offerings based off of what our customer wants.
And that's scary to ask your consumers. They're calling in every day. We're rolling 2,000 calls a day. We're asking them, what do you want? What don't you like? And because of this small batch philosophy that we've taken on the product side, you really get to be nimble and shift, which I love as a person who's buying those products. Like, wow, they're actually listening to me. They actually will. They don't like that ingredient. They don't like the carrageenan in the toothpaste. I'll take it out. I've educated them about it. I've told them why we have it in there. They don't like it. Let's take it out.
Let's talk about the one-for-one things that you're doing. I noted heard you talking about you're giving away a crib for every crib that's sold. Did I get that right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And these are not low cost. These are like $400 cribs or something.
Yeah, they're really, it's a really accessible price point, believe it or not, for a crib. It's a 4-way crib. It's made out of a sustainable pine, and it's non-toxic paint. You really can't find a crib with the quality of our crib, what it's made out of, for under $700, $800.
And when you're giving one of those same cribs,
we're giving a crib that is a different crib, but for babies up to a baby's first year. Our crib goes up to a twin bed, and this one is for a baby's first year.
And who are you giving them to?
We're giving them to children in need. I work with a nonprofit called Baby to Baby. That's one of our nonprofit partners, and I'm on the board. And time and time again, they said that the partners that we partner with at Baby to Baby, there's deaths because of suffocation, because there's multiple children sleeping in one bed with the parents, and someone rolls over on a baby, and that's it. And so I was horrified as a mother to even have to deal with the reality of not being able to give your child a safe place to sleep. The other one is, even if you do have two parents, if social workers come by your home or shed or wherever they're living, and they see that they don't have a safe place to sleep, they'll put the child in foster care. And so we're relieving that pressure on families in need.
Yeah, and I'm sure some of the business people here are saying, how can you possibly make money on a $400 item if you're giving some, even if it's lesser value, one away?
Well, the business is not built off of cribs. The business is really built off the diapers and cleaning products and personal care products. This area that we have these cribs and other family and baby essentials, hard and soft goods, it's called The Collective, and we're really going out and selecting best-in-class partners and working with them. So in this instance, we chose Baby Leto, and we designed it. We chose the color, we chose the paint, we chose the wood. We put it together and said, okay, we have a membership base. On some of these other products, let's give them 25% off to incentivize them and thank them for being a member. But on the crib, let's, instead of reducing it 25%, let's take that money and put it to something where we can have an engagement on our social goodness side. And the cribs have been selling.
Sold out.
Yeah, it's been absurd how quickly an audience is taken to a product like that. And there are other people that have done one-for-one, and we felt like for this product, it was a good opportunity to have our own impression on it.
So you created kind of a sleeper cell. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
And we've affected 34,000 families just in our products alone, and we've given over 120,000 units of product away.
That was just last year.
So,
let's see if we get a question or two in. Elaine?
Yeah, we do have some questions. So one of them is about end of life. So are you looking at end of life issues like diapers compostable or plastic packaging? And you've said that you have or inspired by Cradle to Cradle, and
yes.
Some people are wondering how is that actually, or are you incorporating any of that into Honest?
I'm the biggest fan of Bill McDonough. I sit on one of his boards, his Green Innovations Policy Institute, and we are looking at it. For a young business, I so respect that philosophy. Everything we do has that in mind, and from the plastics that we're using to the non-wovens that we're using in our diaper, innovation on our diaper. We really chose, I know there was a gentleman I was talking to last night, his 13-year-old said, you guys had this great big idea question. And we were looking at what is our great big idea. And our big idea is really around reinvention. You don't have to invent new things, or you don't have to change new things. It's really about taking something that exists and reconceiving it from the ground up. And so we are looking at those issues. We would love a 100% biodegradable diaper. We are working towards that. We are working on innovative nonwovens. We are sourcing from all over the world. To actually put a diaper together is one of the most highly engineered processes you've ever seen.
Believe it or not.
It's not fun. But it's really fascinating to get it done. And so if there's going to be anyone, I'm standing on the stage right now and say we're going to do it first. Because I'm committed to it. The brand is committed to it. I'm committed to it for my children's future. Every diaper that has been made since disposable diapers have been in existence is still in existence. So that's concerning to me, and we're gonna do something about it.
Just one more question.
Yeah, one more question was that there's pretty much consensus that it's a great focus on moms and all the mom issues. But one question is, are you considering dads' points of view for the products?
I'm a dad.
Yeah. What does that even mean, the dad's point of view? How do you view that?
Great question.
What does that mean,
I'll talk about her and she and mom. I talk about mom. I really do. I know that mom is really driving the conversation in our categories. There's no doubt about it. Over 90% of our customers or members are moms. It's great to be, when I roll phone conversations in customer service, I actually talk to some dads, and the dad's like, I think I'm going to cancel. I'm like, well, let's talk about that. What's the brand not doing for you? And it's usually around cost. And from a dad's perspective, it's how do I manage the financial reality of my family? But if you break it down in, I love to talk about preventative health cost. Hey, you're investing in your child's future now. You're not going to have to deal with health costs later.
But we're also pretty competitively priced,
And we
and for $20 a week you get unlimited diapers and wipes.
And when you break it down into a language that he understands, often we see really positive results. But dads love our brand as well. We know that. We hear from them. It's surprising that they feel that the engagement online and the experience and the convenience of shopping through honest.com and managing your bundle and getting it in, there is a component of control and excitement that they have over that as well.
And of course, it helps to use short words too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we need to bring this home. I'm wondering, as parents, what's the story you want your kids to be able to tell about this when they're 5-10 years from now? Christopher, what's the story you want your kids to be able to tell about the Honest Company?
Well, my son told us a story 3 months ago. He's a kindergartner, who's 6. And he went into his classroom and he said, they was asking, what do your dads and moms do? And he said, my dad makes trusted products. And that killed me. It choked me up, and in a way that I was so proud of the fact that he did. He told everyone the company's name, but he said, my dad makes trusted products. And that's a big deal. He could recognize the products we make. He talks about them. Talk about guinea pigs. We're constantly taking stuff home and slathering them and watching them.
We don't test on animals. We test on our children.
So he's like, really? Do I got to try this again?
Yeah, it's true. They choose the flavors of everything.
Yeah, every scent
of everything.
Every flavor. Try this strawberry toothpaste. Try this.
And they're really vocal when they don't like it.
But we are here because of them.
Yeah.
I mentioned that.
Absolutely.
And we are positively trying to create a better future for them and the future they're inheriting.
Yeah. Jessica, I'll give you the last word. What's the story you want your kids to tell?
Girls rock. I think it's inspiring for my kids to see mom go to an office every day and to see we have a good balance of men and women and inspired, creative people that we are doing our little part in making the world a better place and a more sustainable future. And my kids come into the office often, and it's just part of who they are, and it's what they're surrounded with. And so I hope when they're older, they can talk about that, and they are inspired to push themselves and to think outside the box and to be dreamers as well. The Honest Company, the name in itself comes from my daughter's name, Honor. And so my poor Haven, my little one, I gotta give her something. I'm not sure what it is yet, but no, I think it's cool that I can be part of this movement, and that I'm blessed with this opportunity to have such a cool business and be part of such a great mission.
And maybe they'll all grow up thinking that all companies are honest companies.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Please join me in thanking Christopher Gavigan and Jessica Alba.